Hi, PLC teachers. We read your survey results from our first session, and since many of you are experienced users and a lot of the new users have questions, we thought that we'd switch it up a little for session 2. Normally, we have all new users, and we do an assignment report overview in detail to get you more familiar with all the tools in the assignment report. But since there are less new users and several of you have requested more question and discussion time, I'm going to make this video for those of you who need the tour of the assignment report ahead of time, and then we will use that 10 to 12 minutes that we normally would have done this for some discussion time to ask questions. So I already am in my assignments and have selected this report. The easiest way to go to your data report is from your Canvas or Google Classroom link, but you can find them also here. You can, I don't want to lose this one, but I'll show you here. You can filter by classes. You can filter by status, and you can filter in descending, due date, release date, and such. This is my demo account, so I only have a few of these that have all of these assignments on them, so I don't want to lose my example for you. And this is the one I wanted to show you. So going across the top here is the name. If you're in Eureka, it will say the name of it. If you're in IM, it'll say the name of the lesson of the assignment. You'll also notice you can see the view it problems by problems or by standards. So this report is for just one assignment, and this is the assignment. Across the top here, these cards show you 6 students have not started in their names. 3 students are in progress and the last day they worked on it. And 13 have completed it and the day they completed it. And you assigned it to 22 students altogether. Across the top here, we have this performance summary. And what this shows you is on this report for this problem. So part 1, part A is this problem here. For this problem, this is how many students got it correct: 10, 8 got it correct eventually, and 7 got it incorrect. For problem B, right here, 14 correct, 7 correct eventually, 3 incorrect, and so on and so forth through the whole thing. The correct eventually and correct, if you forget what those mean, you can always come over here and see. Correct eventually means that they've lost some of their progress score, but they kept trying and they still got it correct eventually. You want to praise the student that sticks to it and still gets it correct eventually. Even though the student got 0, they still got it correct. So anything orange, the student has gotten something wrong or asked for hints, but has gotten it correct eventually, which shows perseverance. The red means the student asked for the answer. The red doesn't mean they just got it plain wrong, because they have to put in the right answer to move forward. So they have to ask for the right answer if they don't have it. So going down here, now we have it, the detailed report, which is usually the teacher's favorite. And I'm still looking at it by problems. And so this is each student. And we're going across here looking at by problems. There's each problem going across. The problem average, so that's the average for the whole class, and then the average for each problem. And then the common wrong answer. And so for anyone that has a common wrong answer, you'll see this in this column. So this 44% means 44% of the wrong answers, not 44% of the class. Of the wrong answers, 44% had the same wrong answer of 9. Great student discussion starter at the start of class, reviewing work from the day before, to ask students, well, how come so many of you answered the same wrong answer? Even the student that is not had got it correct is still engaged in that discussion, because everybody is curious as to why we've made the same mistakes. And the same thing here, 23% of the wrong answers answered 24. You'll notice there's no scores in these two, and that's because they're open response questions. I can open one up and show you. Oh, well, actually, this one isn't an open response, so I don't know why it doesn't show a view. So this is demo stuff, so there might be a little mistake in there. When there's no score in here, it'll say access, and you can click on that, and it will let you score all the open response answers. This is not counted as anything unless you put something in there. So you'll notice there's 100% in here, but this is the only student that's got a score of 100%. So this doesn't count against the student's score until you put some number in there. So this student has a 43% overall. this is not counting as 0. This is counting as nothing until you score it. So going across here with the problems, we can click on any of these and open up the problem. See the original problem, see the correct answer, and then again, see the breakdown of your students and how they did. If you want to look at individual students' work, for instance, this one here, you can click on this student's one answer, and you can see the correct answer was 3, and that the student attempted 4 times, and the 4th time was when they got 3. And so the student got it correct eventually. They had 1 wrong attempt, a 2nd wrong attempt, a 3rd wrong attempt, and then they finally got it. It says hint failed to download, so there must have not been a hint. Sometimes there's a hint, and if they ask for a hint, it's a mark against them. And again, you can look at this student who got it wrong and see if the student did anything. This student did attempt it once and then requested the answer. Okay, so going through here, you can also click on your students and, oh, I guess this student didn't have anything. Let me click on one that does. Click on your student and see a detailed report for each student. Now, the student themselves has this detailed report for themselves. So it shows you what time they did things, when they started the problem, when they answered it correctly, what they answered incorrectly. And this teacher feedback is when you're scoring the open response over here. So that's what you're seeing. So this lets you dig down a little deeper. This one says you can edit the feedback if you want. So you can also score your open response in this mode, but this is one student at a time. Up the top here, you can go to the next student and do it that way, but the access button is better because you see all the open response in one place. You can answer them all at the same time and grade them all at the same time. So this can tell you a lot about some students. You wouldn't look at this all the time, but this is a great report to look at when you want to know a little bit more about a student. And now I need to go back. So I'm back here again. So let's see what else I haven't showed you. Oh, sharing the report. We encourage you to share the report. So right over here, I can hide information and I can hide names. And when I hide the names, this gets shuffled so it's not alphabetical. So the students still don't know who it is. If you want to discuss the common wrong answer, this is a great bell starter at the beginning of class to hide the names and ask students about those common wrong answers or ask them which problem would they like to look over. And it's a great way to get them engaged immediately when they come in the room. Okay, so that's my little overview. We also have time over here. And time can tell you something if a student's doing the work online, but time doesn't necessarily tell you much if you have students doing their work on paper and then entering their answers, because if they're getting it all correct, they're probably doing it in a very short amount of time. But if students are just working and not keeping a notebook and just working online and on scratch paper, the time can be telling to you. For instance, this student over here, it says that he spent 16 minutes on this and he never finished it. And he got 2 correct eventually. So now these are demo students, let's say, but if that were a real student, I would guess that the student just got frustrated and gave up. That would be my guess on those 16 minutes. Looking down the time, let me see if we have any short ones. This student, 2 seconds, nothing in there. So this student opened it and closed it. That's all that student did. They never did any of the work on it. So again, these are demo accounts, but if they're real student accounts, that's the kind of thing you could see from it. Okay, so I hope that this helps you a little bit to know the assignment report a little bit better and a little deeper. Don't be afraid to click around and see things. Oh, I forgot to show you standards. If you want to look at standards, so this is great when you're progressing through another unit and you want to see how the students are doing on standards. So for this problem set, the standards, these are the standards that were on it. And this is how each student's doing. So there were 2 questions, this standard on this practice set, and this student got 50% on those 2 questions. That's the average. There were 4 questions around this standard, and the student got 25% average for those 4 questions. There was 1 question around this standard, and this student got 0%. So the standards report gives you a whole different view of how students are doing on standards, and also can be very helpful depending on where you're at, especially if you do standard-based grading. And so that's my little overview. I hope this has helped.